There was certainly an element of making my grandfather proud and honouring him by taking part in the award that has been so much of his life's work, and I definitely hope that I have made him proud.
Lady Louise has just been handed the keys to the late Queen's private estate, a move that has ignited fury inside Camilla's family. Behind closed palace doors, accusations, bruised pride, and inheritance shocks erupt, as one quiet royal suddenly becomes the unexpected heir everyone is now talking about. The Dawn Prince. Harry realizes Marina's past just froze his inheritance. At 5:30 a.m., inside Clarion House in London, senior legal officers wake Prince William with an emergency briefing. A sealed directive from the trustees confirms that distributions from Princess Diana's legacy trust to his younger brother, Prince Harry, are being suspended immediately. The order cites a triggered provision known internally as a lineage safeguard clause. The phrase disbursement freeze appears in the formal notice, marked in blue ink and countersigned by the Royal Financial Council. The trust cannot proceed until the matter is clarified, the trustee states. To Prince Harry, this decision strikes at his last protected connection to his mother. He had often told confidants that Diana's inheritance was the only reason he survived the months after the royal household reduced his financial support in 2020. The phrase, "My mother carried me even after she was gone," is one he repeated during private interviews when he left official duty. The internal headline drafted for documentation reads, Prince William informed Marina's past initiated inheritance freeze. The council explains that the freeze was not triggered by Prince Harry's conduct, but by Meghan Markle's undisclosed history and a formal parentage claim submitted by an individual identified only as AM. Inside Montecito Mansion in Pacific Heights, Prince Harry receives the secure call at dawn California time. The blinds remain closed as he listens to the legal summary. The remaining disbursements from Princess Diana's trust and any contingent allocations for his line will not resume until verification procedures are completed. This becomes the moment he realizes that the financial anchor tied to his mother's memory has slipped out of his hands. Privately, officials inform him that Marina's omissions, not his actions, initiated the clause. Prince William receives the same briefing and responds with visible frustration, insisting that Diana's legacy must not become collateral damage in a crisis created outside palace walls. The tension between the brothers sharpens as each sentence of the freeze order is read aloud. Clause 3 activates behind closed doors, and the palace prepares for the next phase of scrutiny. Clause 3, Diana's lineage integrity trapdoor versus the real Diana will. Inside the restricted archive at Buckingham Palace, lawyers retrieve the sealed document that palace staff refer to as Clause 3. In the trust's technical language, the clause grants authority to suspend distributions if questions arise involving direct biological lineage of designated beneficiaries or their descendants. The provision reads like a trapdoor, rarely mentioned, never previously activated. The council pairs this with a handwritten note from Princess Diana, delivered years ago by her former aide Peter Morel, containing the line, "Children must stand in truth, not shadow, for the crown to remain clear." The wording becomes a symbolic anchor for Prince William as he authorizes compliance with the clause. In public record, Princess Diana left an estate valued at the equivalent of £21 million after tax, divided between her two sons. Prince Harry received his share at 25, and during private discussions he credited that inheritance with keeping him financially stable during periods of separation from the crown. There is no public document naming a Clause 3 provision today. The operational mechanism remains sealed. Peter Morrell resurfaces in internal discussions because he once delivered a letter believed to reflect Diana's fears about future false heirs. The presence of that letter, combined with the formal claim filed by AM, gives the council legal grounding to pause distribution until verification is complete. During the meeting at Northminster, Prince William is told that Clause 3 grants him the authority, through the Royal Household Council, to prevent any funds from reaching Prince Harry until the question of lineage clarity is professionally settled. The Council's chairman states, "The clause is protective, not punitive." Prince William interprets the directive as duty, not revenge. He sees himself as executing Diana's safeguard and ensuring the trust is not misused, especially if Marina's undisclosed past introduced avoidable instability. The atmosphere inside the chamber shifts into procedural severity, with archivists preparing sealed boxes and auditors opening a full review. The AM claim moves from allegation to detonator, forcing the next escalation. AM steps forward, the secret daughter claim that detonates everything. At Inner Temple in London, a woman identified as AM, age 29, arrives with a legal team from Chicago and submits a confidential dossier. Inside the folder are notarized DNA reports, hospital documents from Oak Park, Illinois, and a sworn declaration stating that she seeks only biological acknowledgement and protected registry status as an extended relation to the Hale family line. Her attorneys emphasize that she has not requested financial compensation. The statement filed reads, "Recognition of biological connection is the sole objective." The timeline catches immediate attention. July 1996 is listed as the date of AM's birth, aligning precisely with Meghan Markle's transition period between her Los Angeles school years and early academic preparation linked to her later enrollment at Northlake University. The chronology transforms ordinary biography into a point of scrutiny. Footage from Gravitas Cafe in West Hollywood resurfaces through security archives. In the recording, Marina holds a black folder labeled Highgrove Access, while Prince Harry stands opposite her. His voice is captured saying, "You lied to me before we were married. This destroys everything." Analysts reviewing the footage note the tension in Marina's posture and the controlled fury in Prince Harry's expression. Prince Harry later authorizes intermediaries to contact AM discreetly, offering a proposal for confidential acknowledgement supported by a non-disclosure agreement. The negotiation collapses when AM declines the NDA, insisting on a formal registry entry. This refusal triggers internal alerts inside Buckingham Palace, where legal officers inform Prince William that Clause 3 must now be enforced in full. Inside the palace, Prince William interprets the claim as an existential breach. The phrase biological clarity appears repeatedly in his written directives. Cross-references with past royal crises highlight the sensitivity surrounding lineage, particularly after decades of standards established to protect succession integrity. Prince William's frustration sharpens into protocol, and the AM filing becomes the fulcrum on which the inheritance freeze now rests. Vatican shadows and unresolved records rise to the surface as vetting intensifies. Vatican shadows, secret marriage, canon law, and royal vetting rules. In a sealed memorandum circulating between Buckingham Palace and the Apostolic Archive in Rome, archivists confirm the retrieval of a 1995 to 1996 correspondence packet catalogued under restricted clerical codes. Within this packet lies a note informally referred to as the Hidden Heir Letter, referencing Princess Diana's concerns about a child bearing no rightful claim stepping into the path of the crown. The phrasing is stark and becomes central evidence during internal review sessions. Records from the Vatican outline a past engagement between Meghan Markle and an individual identified as Jonas Julian, accompanied by a private Catholic ceremony later nullified by an annulment decree dated 1997. Canon law documentation lists non-disclosure of childbearing circumstances as one of the supporting elements. These documents remain sealed but carry procedural weight in the palace's assessment. Royal vetting practices re-enter the discussion. Advisors reference historic standards requiring full disclosure of marriages, religious affiliations, and legal entanglements prior to joining the central royal household. The Cimarron Commission reports, which document past vetting failures, are retrieved from the Windsor Annex to illustrate precedent. Senior intelligence officers from M26 reopen a previously closed evaluation file concerning Marina's years between 1995 and 1998. The reassessment focuses not on personal moral judgment, but on omissions that may have altered her eligibility to marry a direct royal. A note from the director reads, "Risk originates from absence of information, not presence of error." Prince William receives a classified briefing summarizing that essential facts were withheld during Marina's entry into the royal circle. He interprets this as a structural breach rather than a romantic complication. His frustration becomes visible in the line he writes across the margin of his briefing packet. "She crossed the gates with missing pages." Prince William consolidates authority, preparing the machinery of legacy lockdown. Legacy lockdown. Prince William's cold strategy to protect the crown. Inside Windsor Court, an emergency gathering forms around Prince William, who now carries full authority over the Succession Oversight Council. The room is set with sealed binders, encrypted tablets, and a single directive stamped "Immediate Implementation." The order authorizes the program unofficially labeled Legacy Lockdown, a sweeping response designed to suspend all recognition, benefits, and ceremonial references relating to Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and their children until the verification process concludes. A written summary from the council chair states, "Stability of line takes precedence over sentiment." The first measure, known as the No Reference Protocol, instructs staff to remove Prince Harry's family from all planned speeches, formal greetings, and upcoming event materials. Administrative teams at Buckingham Palace quietly halt printing runs and reformat digital documents. References vanish from briefing notes for engagements across Yorkshire, Cornwall, and Kent. The second measure, the Frozen Archive Directive, locks all cooperative projects connected to Prince Harry's line. Joint charity programs, web content, and royal initiative records move into restricted storage. Digital access keys assigned to Marina's former staff stop functioning, and archivists retrieve signed agreements for internal review. The third measure, a confidential contingency known as the Guardianship Preparedness File, assigns a private legal team to examine custodial pathways should lineage disputes extend into areas affecting minors. This file circulates only between Prince William, Princess Anne, and the Lord Chancellor. Princess Anne becomes the moral and operational anchor. She orders a comprehensive audit of charities tied to Prince Harry and Marina, ensuring none risk association with disputed narratives. She states during the meeting, "We do not inherit chaos." Princess Catherine reinforces the public front of calm continuity. Her visits to hospitals and children's centers remain steady, creating an image of unbroken routine while internal systems tighten. Prince William, seated beneath a portrait of Princess Diana, signs the final enforcement page. His signature finalizes legacy lockdown, shifting the royal posture from emotional strain to institutional defense. Hollywood's stance turns cold as Marina's connections weaken and Prince Harry's finances contract. Hollywood turns its back. How Marina's brand collapse tightens the financial noose. At Hollywood studios in Los Angeles, senior executives review risk memos concerning Meghan Markle, noting a rise in legal volatility and public scrutiny. The decision reached is cautious isolation. Formal communication ceases, and active projects linked to Marina move to inactive status. A staffer briefs the board with the phrase, "The margin for exposure has closed." The first major signal emerges from Tyler Perrow, who once provided Prince Harry and Marina with housing and protection during their departure from the royal household. Perrow's legal team files a document confirming the conclusion of all collaborative arrangements. The end of this relationship removes a financial and symbolic pillar from Marina's post-royal life. Silence from Ophelia Grant, who previously conducted a high-profile interview with the couple, becomes another marker. Whereas Grant once produced narratives centered on their grievances and aspirations, her current position is absence. Executives interpret this silence as a directive not to engage. Streaming platforms begin to adjust. The multi-year contract between Netflix and the couple, once valued for dramatic potential, enters evaluation. Internal notes cite inconsistent deliverables and mounting uncertainty. The earlier audio deal with Spotify, terminated after limited output, sits in their records as precedent. Inside Archewell Collective, Marina's media foundation, staff reductions begin. Team members update professional profiles indicating separation. Project calendars display blank months, and scheduled releases shift to postponed. Operational costs absorb remaining liquidity, tightening the financial landscape surrounding Prince Harry and Marina. For Prince William, reports of the brand's instability reinforce his stance. He views the interconnected failures as evidence that responsibility for the inheritance freeze lies not with external forces, but with Marina's unresolved past and unstable ventures. The contraction in Hollywood intensifies pressure on the couple as avenues of support fall away. The strain magnifies inside their Pacific Heights estate as structural and financial cracks become visible. Montecito Fortress cracks, real-world costs, wildfire risk, and a house going dark. The Montecito Mansion in Pacific Heights shows its first signs of strain as verification procedures deepen. Purchased for $14.6 million, the property becomes increasingly difficult to sustain. Inspectors from California wildfire insurance carriers classify the estate as high vulnerability tier, triggering a reassessment of insurance coverage. Premiums rise sharply, and limitations on replacement protection appear in the updated terms. A notice at the gate reads, "Policy reconsideration pending. Mitigation review required." The estate's mortgage requires uninterrupted hazard insurance. When the revised policy fails to meet full compliance, the bank issues a technical default alert, warning of possible foreclosure. The alert arrives stamped urgent compliance. Operational cracks appear. Security vehicles reduce their rotation, and local landscaping contractors' landscapers stop visits after unpaid invoices. Deliveries slow, and neighbors observe dimmed pool lights and an unmonitored gate. Inside, Marina's legal team proposes refinancing backed by future disbursements from Princess Diana's trust. But the trustees confirm all funds tied to Prince Harry remain frozen under Clause 3. Costs exceed income, tightening pressure around the estate. In London, Prince William reviews a financial briefing and writes across the final page, "No duchy involvement." Prince Harry senses the collapse beginning as emotional and political fractures approach their breaking point. Prince Harry trapped between two worlds. Real grievances. Fictional breaking point. Prince Harry leaves the Montecito mansion before dawn in a single black SUV, carrying a duffel bag, his Prince Harry's military unit's field journal, and a sealed folder of Princess Diana's trust documents. The vehicle moves north toward a quiet cottage near Big Sur, a place he once used during difficult years of service. The coastline passes in gray light as he reads the freeze order again. The phrase, "suspension pending biological verification," sits underlined, reopening injuries he believed time had buried. In the cottage, he sets the documents beside the window and rereads sections of his memoir describing Diana's steadiness during private palace conflicts. Losing access to her legacy now feels like losing her twice. The weight deepens when he recalls his failed legal battle for security in the United Kingdom, a loss that makes returning home impossible without protection. He replays the Gravitas Cafe confrontation, watching Morena's folder and Prince William's growing distance collide in memory. When he sends a secure message to Prince William, the council replies instead, "Communications remain suspended." Prince Harry sits facing the cliffs, understanding that silence now replaces brotherhood. The strain of lineage questions, financial breakdown, and isolation tightens around him, reshaping his place in the royal world he once believed unbreakable. The crown draws a line. Charles, Anne, Catherine. Close the door. At Buckingham Court, King Charles convenes a midnight council with Princess Anne, Princess Catherine, and Lord Chancellor Eldrick Hayes. The council activates Regent Clause 14, a measure allowing temporary suspension of recognition for descendants under lineage review. Charles signs the directive with the line, "Stewardship requires clarity." A televised statement follows from the East Wing. Charles speaks against a backdrop of St. Albans Hall, saying, "We safeguard the integrity of our line so future generations may stand on firm ground." The message signals a formal distancing from Prince Harry's family while avoiding names. Inside palace corridors, staff adjust digital records and ceremonial listings. Catherine remarks privately, "A line must hold, even when it cuts." Prince William reviews the updated protocols, his handwritten note reading, "Until verification, no reinstatement." Prince Harry's world narrows as institutional doors seal around him. The future of Prince Harry's family rests on evidence the palace demands, but Marina resists.